I'm gonna go ahead and show you a quick video clip of a prison stabbing occurring. This video was sent to me by one of my buddies who's still incarcerated in a state prison that he recorded with his contraband cell phone. Now, of course, I'm gonna walk you through this clip as it plays because some parts have to be blurred. I can't just show a brutal prison stabbing in all its glory on YouTube. But after I walk you through it a bit, I'm just gonna really build off of that clip and just get into how prison stabbings really work, what really happens, what do they look like, what do they feel like, the mentality of someone who's getting stabbed, the mentality of the person who's doing the stabbing. Because I promise you, it's not what probably 90% of you think it is.
Oh, you wetting that nigga.
These niggas dumb, bro. These niggas stupid, bro. These niggas stupid. These niggas stupid, man. These niggas stupid.
So a couple things I want to tell you and point out about this footage. Of course, I've seen it without the blur. I saw exactly what happened, and basically what it is two guys attacked one guy. One of the two guys had no weapon, and the other guy had a prison shank. It looked to be an ice pick. You know, an ice pick style, usually like a piece of rebar sharpened down to what looks like a big nail or an ice pick. So they call it an ice pick. And that's what he had in his hand, and they basically attacked this guy, and his instant reaction was to kind of fall down and ball up into the defense position and just hope he survived through it until they stopped. And you see the one guy just kind of beating him the whole time, and maybe a little pulling on the arms and legs, trying to get him to kind of open up out of this defensive ball that he's in so that they can just get some better shots on him. And the one with the green tint to his shirt, if you can make that out, that's the one with the knife. He's the one kind of doing the stabbing, but you know, when I'm watching it, he's being very careful about where he's stabbing him. He's kind of trying to hit him in the legs and, you know, in the arms, the shoulder, and maybe a little in the body. He's not really going for the neck or the head or the face. And, you know, after a while, this quits. You can hear the guys kind of yelling the whole time. The other guys, you know, the guy on the floor who's getting stabbed and beaten, he's going, stop, stop. But everyone else is kind of just saying, man, these guys are stupid. Hey, man, these guys are so dumb. Can't believe they're doing, you know, because they're just kind of doing it out in the open. Now you have this entire cell block of potential witnesses and dry snitches who, if they ever have a reason or an issue with you or a problem with you, they could always secretly snitch on you for that and probably get you jammed up. So they're just kind of commenting to themselves about how dumb they are for doing it in this way, because usually you're not going to want to do it right there out in the open. But anyways, after that, you see, you know, the one guy who's in the green, he's kind of starting to walk off, and he gives him one final kick to the face and then continues to walk off. But you know, the guy on the floor, he's not just laying there dead. And you know, these are a couple points I want to make. They kind of springboard into what I'm trying to talk about when it comes to actual real prison stabbings, not what you see in movies and TV shows and stuff, because the way they depict it, it's really different. So I'm going to try to really capture the feeling and the atmosphere of when a prison stabbing occurs for you guys. See, the first thing, like with these movies and just, you know, all this stuff, they always show somebody like just getting stabbed one good time with a big knife, and they just go, you know, oh, and then they just fall and they're just dead, you know, or maybe they're just, you know, hit about 3 or 4 times, and the guy just goes down and he's dead and it's over with, you know, and it's just totally unrealistic. That's not what happens. There's so much that goes into it, really. Number one, the reaction of people when they're getting stabbed, and at least in prison. I just say in prison because I haven't happened to see, you know, about 30 to 40, 45 regular stabbings with real, actual, professionally made, sold in store knives, out here in the open world, and I just haven't. So I don't know, and I think it's a bit different than prison stabbings, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But part of it is just the quality of the knife, But I've seen that a lot in prison, and so usually the reaction of guys who are getting stabbed in prison, they're not just kind of stand there and just have this big knife stuck in them and just blood kind of spits up and they just go down. It's just not what happens. But from my experience, they do one of two things. The guys getting stabbed, they do number one, what you just saw in the footage I showed you. I even have another prison stabbing, and I wish I had one with both reactions to kind of give you the reference of each, but I don't. I just happen to have two where they do the exact same thing. It seems half the time people just kind of freeze up and panic, and just their first reaction is to curl up and drop down into a ball, like you're being attacked by a bear or something, and just kind of just curl up into a defensive shell and hope you make it through, which most of them do. Or your other reaction is to really run. These guys aren't just standing there getting knives rammed up in them and just staying there and, like when something touches you that's sharp, it's kind of like when something touches you that's hot. You instantly kind of, these guys do the herky jerky. These guys jerk away very quickly, and they are like a wild animal getting away from something hunting them. I mean, these guys, your adrenaline is pumping, and they don't even really feel it. I've talked to so many guys who've been stabbed. It just feels like being punched at first, being punched really, really, really hard. Doesn't really feel like something metal's going in you, and their instant reaction is to kind of just jerk away from this knife, and they'll just take off. And a lot of times you'll see these guys who are have these knives and doing the stabbings. The whole scene of this violent altercation, for the most part, ends up being them just chasing this victim around the prison cell and the prison dorm, up the stairs, down the stairs. I've seen guys jump off the top tier onto the bottom tier to get away, and I've seen the guy jump over the rail to get to the guy who jumped over. I know a guy had a cellmate and broke both of his ankles jumping down to catch a guy just to keep stabbing him, so half the time it's these guys just running away, so that's the first kind of reality check and misconception I see just from how it's depicted a lot. People don't just stand there and take it and just go down after like a stab or two. And I think another reason for that is the quality of the blade. These aren't just these top of the line knives and stuff that you buy in stores like for hunting or for protection or whatever. I mean, the knife you get in prison is only as good as the guy who made it, and as good as his capabilities of making a decent knife are out of broken off pieces of makeshift metal and materials in there. Not everybody in there is just some expert at putting this finely, perfectly, flat serrated edge, onto a blade, or this cutting, slicing worthy blade onto the side of this piece of metal that they ripped off of a light fixture in there. You know what I mean? A lot of these knives, man, when they go to stab somebody, they're only sharp enough to really go in about one or two times. I mean, I've seen these knives after they hit a bone, they stab somebody maybe in the, the guy puts his hands up and they hit a shoulder or something and it hits that bone one or two times, that tip gets bent. I mean, these are not finely crafted blades. These are very crude, fixed pieces of metal that have been sharpened down on concrete by guys who were just doing their best and probably learned from a buddy who was doing his best in there. And those tips will bend up, and after that, that thing's not going in there anymore. They may keep swinging it, and it looks like they're stabbing them a bunch of times, and it's gonna look real bloody because those first two times, these guys, they love, it's like the bigger the gun, I want to carry the biggest gun. These guys want to carry the biggest looking knife. And it's not always the biggest looking knife that does performs the best, but sometimes it's just so big, it may go in that deep, but it's just so big and wide, it kind of just splits you up so much that, yeah, you get a big surface wound and it gets a lot of blood all on your clothes and it looks real bad. It looks like you did a whole lot of damage, but really you didn't really do anything. And for most of these guys, that's ideal. That's what they want, because listen, most of these guys don't have the intention to murder an inmate in jail. These guys who are doing 7 years, they don't want to be back there for life because they did something in prison when they got 7 years. Let me do 6 years off of 7 and go home and continue my life. They don't want to have 7 years and just never leave because they murdered someone and they woke up that morning and made the decision, you know what, I'm going to murder someone. I don't care, man, who you are. That is like winning the lottery, to murder someone in prison and get away with it. You're probably going to get caught, most likely. And these guys know that, and these guys are afraid of that. But see, there's such there's like a reputation, a stigma that comes with being a guy who will use a knife, and it's like these guys want to be known as someone who will stab you, and man, I'll wet you up, I'll put that knife in you. They want that reputation, but they don't want the real consequences that come with full committal to using that knife. And so they try to, when they go to do it, I promise you, it's very calculated. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, it's very calculated. Just like this guy. I mean, I'm watching this guy the whole time, and he's like moving around and he'll do 3, and then he'll move around, and he does not want to hit vital organs. He doesn't want to hit that neck. He doesn't want to hit that brain. He doesn't want to kill somebody, and a lot of these guys don't. Now, before anybody gets angry in the comments, are there guys in there who intend to kill people on purpose in there sometimes? Yes, of course, it happens. But I mean, that's a specific type of inmate in a specific type of situation. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is that's not the norm. That's not the everyday situation. That's not the majority of the situations when it comes to people getting stabbed in prison. Most of the time, it's just because people want to get that reputation. People want to be known as a stabber. It's like being known as, it's like out here, how everybody, all the criminals, they care, like, yeah, I'll fight, but like, I want to be a shooter. I want to be known as somebody who will shoot, but they don't really just want to shoot somebody in the head. They want to shoot at them. Shoot at their feet or do a drive-by and kind of miss and aim around them. And so I want to be known as a shooter, but I don't want to kill anybody, But it's the same thing in prison. Everybody wants to carry a knife. Everybody wants to be, regarded as someone, hey, don't mess with him. He'll use that knife. He'll stab you. But nobody wants to like commit murder and go to court and receive a life sentence. You know what I mean? So nobody, I'm not going to say nobody, but most people don't have the intention to murder in there. And a lot of guys who've been to prison aren't going to like this video. There's a lot of guys who have been to prison and it's all they have. And, the fact that they've been to a dangerous place, they believe it makes them so special and that's all they have. And so when they see something like this that kind of takes anything away from the glorification of how dangerous and how deadly, prison is, they hate it. And they're like, but this is the truth. It's the truth, and again, there's guys in there who do intend to kill and they do kill, but it's let me tell you, you only hear about the very far few and in between instances of that. Okay, it takes a person who really has nothing to lose or is in just a back against the wall, no other way out situation to do that. And there's guys who kill or damage more than they intended to on accident all the time, because a knife is not a toy. And no matter how precise you want to be, man, tempers flare, and you get to swinging and flailing and wilding and swinging that thing and stabbing, and you may not want to really do too much damage. They want to find that sweet spot. I want to do just enough to make it look like I was really trying to just take this guy out for everyone else, so that after this I'm good. They're gonna spread the word. Hey, don't mess with him. That guy. They want to do just enough to achieve that, but they want to stop just short of any life-threatening, actions that will really end up bringing them some murder charges or some really bad charges that worsen the situation they're already in. That's exactly what it is. I'm telling you. But things happen when you're using a knife. I mean, you hit just 2 inches to the left, 2 inches to the right in the wrong area, and it can happen, and they'll never, they'll just act like that's what they meant to do. But I'm telling you, on the inside, it's eating them up, and they are sick. They are sick to their stomach when that happens. Like, man, I wish I hadn't have done that. Nobody wants to catch a murder charge or anything like that back there. So just wanted to kind of clear that part up too, about the prison stabbings, what the mentality really is behind these guys, most of them who's doing the stabbings. But in closing, as much as I've taken away from how, deadly and dangerous that seems, I gotta say, no matter what, that it's a dangerous situation, whether you're in it or just watching it. Being right there near it and around it. When a knife comes out and gets rammed into somebody, man, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. I mean, the room gets a little chilly. Because no matter what the intentions are, when a knife's added into the equation, things change. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it gave you a little information and a little bit more insight. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so now, because I will be back soon with another video.